Natasha Lanigan from Design House Digital doing a video on how to make a hybrid card, or how to set up your printing file to then make your hybrid card. And for this part I found it easier to make a video rather than use lots of screenshots of the application. So I'm in Photoshop CS6. I don't have Photoshop Elements on at the moment to do this in Elements, but I'm pretty sure that most of the techniques here translate, certainly for setting up a printing file. So this is so quickly in just on the website here, I wanted to just go through the for the credits, the bits that I used in this. So this is the April House Party, which is Inspire, which is beautiful, and I'm using papers by Tisha Chestnut. I'm using the frame down here by Candy Caballero, and I'm using the flowers from Imagination, and some papers from Jenny Schoenberger. And I'm also using some glitter effect styles from Diane Rooney, which is the Sweethearts kit. So those are the bits that I've used in the card, and this is the design that I came up with. Over here is all my layers in the file, and what I've done here is kind of group them all together into the separate bits that I want to print out. So now I have my design of my card, of what I want it to look like, and this is what it looks like digitally. I now need to print it off. So what I've done here, the top group here is all the flowers, and I want those printed off separately. This one in there is the text. This one here is the whole background image that I'm just going to print off all in one go. And this one here is just the card, the colour of the card that I'm using. And I won't be printing that, because what I want to do is cut out to this edge here and have that little bit showing, which is my card. And the reason for that for me is I find it quite tricky to exactly line up. So if I was to make that 5 inches, then this cutting out that edge exactly and making it look perfect would be quite tricky. So I've inset that by like a half a centimetre, or sort of a quarter of a centimetre. I think this, what am I in here? I think I'm in inches, centimetres now. Let's have a look. So yeah, in centimetres. So just going back to the size of the card. So if I just look at the size here, I normally work in inches for the card, so it's 5 inches by 5 inches, which is what the card size is, and it's 300 pixels per inch for printing. But you can set that up to the size of card that you're using. Okay, so what we need to do is turn off the background, because that's the card, we're not printing that. I just have it there so I can see what it looks like. And then I've already turned off the text toppers and the flower topper, and then I'm just going to save out that as a JPEG, just to minimize the size of the files that I'm working with. Okay, so just call that back and save. Then what I need to do is get my printing document set up, and I have it set to A4, but you might be using letter size, so set that up to the page that you want to print at. Then what I need to do is bring in my JPEG that I just created, which is there, and drag that into my printing file. Now, Apple Plus to zoom in and Apple minus to move out, or Control on a Mac. I'm going to just set up a few guides here. Now I have my ruler in centimeters, so it's kind of weird. I work in inches for the size of things, but then when I'm working in guides, I tend to work in centimeters. Now about 1/2 centimetre around the edge is where my printer won't print. So I know that if I put anything in that area, that it's not going to print. So you can drag out, make sure your rulers are turned on. Here, make sure your rulers are turned on, and then you can just grab a guide and drag it out, and you'll see here it'll show you how many centimeters down the page if you're going this way that you are, and then you could just pick them up and drag them even once you've set them up. So that's my this Apple Minus. So that's the page that I've set up, and then I just want to bring my design over here. It's still picking up. It's not actually there's not actually anything in that space, but it's picking up that space, which is fine. It's not. I'm going to cut that out and stick that on. Also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 2 designs. So I'm just going to drop roughly a halfway marker here and drag out another copy. I'm going to maximize the page here so that I can have 2 hybrid cards. Now what you need to do is duplicate this, and the easiest way is to hold down your Alt key, click and drag, and we have another copy. So that's good. That's the start of my printing file. I'm going to save that out and just call it printing file. Now what we need to do is grab the rest of the stuff that we want to print, and so now I want to print the print this off, and what I've done here is rasterized the layer. So if you right click on there, it's grayed out on here because I've no layer styles, but just rasterize your layer styles. And the reason for this is because this has got a stroke around this text. It's also using a mask. I'm also using the text as a mask for the paper here as well. We just drag and drop that in. So drag and hold and then drop it in like that. What I want to do now is, if I just zoom in a bit here, what I want to do now is put a stroke around there. So I want to cut out around that white stroke there that you can't actually see on the white paper. So therefore I want to put a little, what I find is put a little stroke around the edge so that you can cut around that when it's printed, and it makes it nice and easy to cut. So I've put a little black stroke, just 1 pixel, and that's fine, and now I can see where it is I've got to cut. I'm also going to drop the opacity down to about between sort of 15 to 20%, and that's just because if I'm not completely exact and I don't have it bang on, then you're not going to see like a big black line. You've got kind of a very slight faded grey line there, but enough to see to cut. Okay, so that's what we've done there. Apple Minus, Control Minus. Okay, so now what I want to do is duplicate this down here, and you could duplicate the layer here and then drag it down, or you could just hold your Alt key down, and what you'll see is your arrow here will change to an arrow with like a duplicate behind it, and then you click and drag that down, and that's fine. I'm just going to push that up a little bit to leave some space for the flowers. Okay, so that's the last thing to do, is to just drag in the flowers. And I'm not gonna, you could save out each individual flower. I have 1 flower laid on top of another there, which is kind of the way I like it. I have these 2 layers linked together, which you select the 2 layers, right clicking, and just unlink them so that you can see that it comes up as linked layers, and that just means that I can drag the whole flower around. And then you could, if you wanted to, you could save all those out as JPEGs, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to drag in that whole group. So what you do here is what I'm going to do is I'm going to undock this PSD file so I can see my printing file here on the back, and what I'm going to do is just drag the whole group onto the printing file, and you can see there now that the flowers have come in the arrangement that I had on the card, which is no good for printing. So then what I'm going to do is drag the individual flowers around the card over here, and I have 6 for each of the cards, so I need to make sure these ones are up here as well. This one's just peeping out on the edge there. Okay. And then we just need to drag a duplicate down, and I'm not going to use the alt click method on this. I'm going to drag down to the new layer button at the bottom, and that's a duplicate there. And then what I need to do here is click over to group, because if I want to drag that down, it's just going to move one element at a time. So let's change that to group, and now I'll be able to move the whole group down to there. And that's it. So that's how you set up your printing file, or how I've set up this printing file for this project, for this hybrid project. And you know, the main thing with any sort of hybrid card is kind of working out what you're going to print, what you're going to leave as one file. I could have, and I was kind of thinking I might print those off as 2 to get kind of an extra effect, but then I decided I quite liked the glittering that I did around the edge there, so I changed my mind and just printed that off as one file. So that's how to set up a printing file, and just going to save that out, and then you just print it off. Okay, so once you've printed off your card and you just cut out all your pieces, then you're ready to make your hybrid. And I've just brought up this file, so that's the digital original, and this is how my hybrid turned out, and I really chuffed with how well it looks. So just to run through quickly what I did is I cut out the edge there of the background, and I glittered that edge with just gold glitter. I cut out the happy birthday with a craft knife and glittered that edge with some glue pen. And the same with the flowers. I cut those out with a craft knife and just glued the edges, and then put some gold glitter around them. And then what I did with the flowers here is I used my craft knife and I just cut in to those petals, and then I just bent them up. You can see there that I've just bent up the petals to give it kind of a dimension and a real lift off the card. I also added some gold embroidery thread down here, and I've used silicone glue to stick that down. And then in each of the flowers I've got here, that's a sticky gem. This is a felted orange brad, another sticky gem. And these are some lovely buttons. And they are sewn on to the card. So you have to sew these on before you stick your background down onto the card. And then you just poke some holes through where you want your button, and just sew those on using the embroidery thread, and that's it. So that's how I put the card together. And of course I now have 2 cards, which is really handy. I have one for my friend's birthday in May and another one ready to use. And the great thing about the cards is I can just print this off, and in a matter of a few minutes I've got a really beautiful handmade card. I hope you'll join me in the April hybrid challenge and make a card. I hope this has given you some ideas and some techniques, and thanks very much for watching this video, and please leave your comments and any thoughts you have in the blog post or up on YouTube. Thank you.